I come from a very large family where anytime we had a holiday, there was no less than 20 or 25 people. So 2 birds at a Thanksgiving, plus a ham, plus maybe some other big proteins or fish even, was nothing to be surprised by. But doing 2 turkeys on Thanksgiving I really like because it gives you an opportunity to get the process done ahead of time, so then you can make stock with all of the bones. And then having a really good turkey stock is, I think, a really good binder and secret weapon in all of the sides that you're going to be making for Thanksgiving. So doing this a day or 2 days beforehand, that Monday or Tuesday before Thanksgiving, will give you a huge advantage for having an elevated menu for all of your guests. So in order to do this, you're going to need a sharp boning knife or a utility knife, something that has some flex to it, so then you could work around the bones to make all of your cuts. So the first thing that I like to do is take off the wings. So I'm going to situate my bird so then it's breast side down. And if you feel your fingers from where the wings come over to the spine and where the breast is, you could feel the joint that you're going to go through. So basically when you're butchering any animal, you're really just trying to find that line of the muscles or a bone, and if you just follow that with your knife, it's pretty hard to mess it up. So we're going to start with the wing. So you're just going to put your knife in right here, and then you're going to pull it and kind of just pop the bone right from the socket, and then just follow the knife straight through. So we're going to take our wing, throw that in the bowl, and do the same thing on the other wing. So you just make that first cut, and you can kind of pull the wing back if you're struggling, and you should feel a little pop. And you just follow right into that groove. Okay, second wing. And then now we're gonna flip the bird over. So it's really easy to see on this part, this skin that's in between the breast and where the thigh is. So what I like to do is first just pierce right through that skin, so then I open the cavity up, and then we can do one side at a time. And then what we're gonna do is you're gonna find the pelvic bone. So in the cavity, you could feel that with your thumb, and then we're just gonna take our knife, and angling the knife towards the bone, we're gonna come down like this, and then there's another joint right here. So if you just push down, it will pop right out. You see this the ball joint that goes up to the thigh. And then we're going to continue to follow this all the way down. And then this is the really important part, because on the back is where the oyster is. So this section right here is a very nice, tender piece of dark meat. So once you get to your ball joint, you're going to just use the knife, and it's kind of in like a cup shape, and then it's going to come right up so we don't miss any of that. If that's hard to do and you miss it, that's okay, because we're going to use all of the bones in that to make our stock. So that will add nice flavor to our stock, which will then in turn go into our other foods, and especially our gravy. So I'm going to put the thigh right here on this cutting board for now, because we're going to break off the leg from the thigh. So now we're going to do this side. So once again, you're going to find that line and then separate the skin that connects the leg and the thigh to the breast. And then we're going to find the pelvic bone on this side. Follow our knife right along it, and then again, just push down to feel that pop. Here's where the socket is, so now we know that we're free. And then you can just hold this up, make that cut, and then again, we want to make sure that we get that oyster. So I'm going to flip it around this way, keep my bone going all the way up along the spine to make sure I get all of that meat off, and there you go. So as you can see, it should look like on the bottom you have these 2 C's. This is where that oyster meat is. Okay, so now I'm going to put our white meat aside, and here are our 2 thighs and our drumstick and our legs. So here there's going to be another joint that separates the thigh from the drumstick. And on a chicken or a turkey, it's the same. There's normally this line right here of fat and sinew tissue that is exactly where that joint is. So you can pretty much aim, start to cut it that way, and then see if you can feel with your knife where that joint is, and you're going to be able to cut right through it. Just like that. If you can't find it, which I didn't. There we go. So here we have our leg, just like that. And here is our thigh. So this we're going to add to our bowl for our confit. Do the same thing on this side. And here's our thigh. If you wanted to at this point, you could take the bone of the thigh out, but I like to leave it in there because it gives us some nice flavors as we're roasting it with confit. So now that we have all of our dark meat separated, we're left with the white meat. So we have 2 breasts on here, and then we have all of the bones that make up the spine, and then also the giblet package that comes in the inside that has our necks and our organ meat. So first what we're going to do is we're going to remove the crown roast from the rest of the carcass. So to do that, we're just going to put it butt side up, and then you just take your knife and you just go straight down, and you're going to want to make sure you have a nice and sharp knife because we're going to be going through some bones here. So you're going to go all the way down towards where the wishbone is, and then at this point you literally just pull this back like that, and you'll hear the both sockets break on each side. And then we're just going to take our knife and then separate it. So right through the bone, that on one side and the other side. Okay, so here we're left with the spine. As you can see, we have the tail on here that has really nice fat and flavor on it, all of the back fat. There's amazing, amazing flavor in this that you definitely don't want to discard. So this we're going to roast later with the neck and some of the other pieces to make our stock, which will then turn into our gravy. So whatever you do, don't throw this out. So now we're left with our crown roast. So again, you can roast this whole, season it however you want to, or you can take the breasts off. So I think what we're going to do now, for those of you that want to learn how to separate it, is that we're going to take the breasts off. So to do that, you're going to need a nice boning knife again. So what I like to do just to separate my pieces is take the blade right from where the middle of the 2, breast plates would be in the wishbone. So take the skin off, go straight like that, and then you're going to feel a straight line piece of bone that runs right down the middle. So we're going to take the blade and very gently just cut the skin right across that, like that. You might need to run the blade a few times. The goal right now is just to get the skin starting to separate so that we can find that piece of bone. So then you're going to start on one side once you found that, and we're just going to run the knife very gently in a few strokes, and we're really just angling the knife up against that bone and then using the bone as our guideline. Then once you get down to the bottom of the breastplate, you can get your fingers in there and you can almost just use your hands to separate it on its own. So just keep going nice and through down. Okay, so here we go. We have one breast off right now. We'll put that aside. And then we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Okay, so now we have our breastplate. This we're going to put with the back, and then this is going to get added to our stock as well. And then now you're left with 2 breasts. So if you wanted to separate the tenderloin, you could. The tenderloin has a different cooking temperature, which would be the reason to do that. So it's almost just peels back on its own, just like this. So and you can see all of the sinew, that's the tissue that's holding these muscles together. So we're just going to follow that line, just like that, and just take the tenderloin right off. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So now we have our 2 tenderloins, and we have our 2 pieces of breast. So now that we have our white meat pulled off of the breastbone, and we separated the tenderloins, these are ready to cook in 2 different ways. So what I would like to do with the breast, with the skin on, is I'm going to season them, and then once they've tempered, I'm going to sear them right into a hot pan with some aromatic spices and maybe deglaze it with a little bit of wine. And then the tenderloins I'm actually just going to put in a Ziploc bag and throw in the freezer, and then I'm going to save this for a later point in time after Thanksgiving. The reason why I'm doing that is because I'm mainly cooking for at least 20 people for Thanksgiving, and to get enough tenderloin for everyone to have a little piece of, to really appreciate it, is very hard to do. And this is just a really nice tender piece of meat that I can save during the week when I'm trying to make a sandwich to bring with me to work, or just cook dinner for my wife and I. But if you wanted to cook that and serve it on your plate with the rest of your turkey, you're more than welcome to do that, but whatever floats your boat.